So today I'm going to be installing a new head unit into the Nissan Patrol. We'll be replacing the single unit that was in there with a Sony ax5500. It's a single unit doubled-in screen, 6.95 inches from corner to corner. It's going to leave a little gap at the bottom there because that's just the way the screen is. It doesn't fill out like a square. It's more of a rectangle design. So I've already changed over the plugs. I used to solder and use connectors and twist and tape back in the day, but now I can't really be bothered to spend all that time. So now I just spend the cash and I go get these little adapter plugs. So obviously there's one that goes to the factory Nissan loom, and then there's the loom that goes from the adapter loom to the Sony head unit. And then in future, if I ever want to change, say I want to go to a Pioneer or a Alpine or a Clarion or anything like that, you just change over these plugs to go to a different head unit. I've only got the cable bundled up just underneath there, but at the moment I've got that's for a rear camera that I will be installing, as well as we've got the USB. There's a 1 and a 2. One, I can't remember which one is which, but one of them is pretty much for your phone. The other one is for a USB, I'm pretty sure. So I've already turned it on and made sure it works, but I've tried to put my iPhone with the other plug and it didn't do anything, and I had to put my phone with the other one to make it work. But some of the features, when I boot it all up, I'll show you, but yeah, it's got wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as you can see on the box. Comes with a microphone that I've already installed up here. So to get to that, you just got to take off that rubber seal there. And I've already removed this plastic panel and just kind of ran the wires in, tucked it all underneath and cable tied it. So yeah, I'll get it all in and I'll show you the finished product. All right, so this is the head unit fully being installed. Just make sure whenever you're pulling apart anything in this kind of area, you take either some photos or a mental image, I suppose. When I pulled apart the dash, which is fairly easy, obviously there'll be a blacks around here. There's actually 2 little gaps down here. You just put a screwdriver in and the whole face just pops off. But it's a good idea to take a mental image. Just when I've pulled this off, obviously I found like a bunch of wires here, that at first I wasn't really too sure. I do know that there's a gauge there, so I'm thinking, maybe that's how he's wired the gauge up. Obviously that's how he's got the power for ignition, and obviously this here. So when I turned it all back on, I actually left this off, and when I was checking the lights, noticed that this wasn't lighting up. So obviously that's how he's put his ground for the gauge. So I fixed all that now, but yeah, it's just a good idea just in case you do any of this kind of work that you put it back the way that it was for some, yeah. But this is all the unit that's been plugged in. I'll just turn it on now. Obviously, if it's a cold start or if it's the first time the unit's been turned on, it's going to take a little bit longer for it to fully switch on, but this one's already been on before. But yeah, so this is the screen. This is the HD. This is the HD version, I think it is, ax5500. So it's the brand new screen. So it's obviously brighter colors, better resolution, I think. But in relation to all the other units that I looked at a Pioneer one that I was pretty interested in. That had I think it was either 9 inches or a 10-inch monitor, and it was huge. With all the fascia on, I think it would have taken a massive big portion out, but just in relation to the sensitivity of the screen, I wasn't really a big fan on how hard it was to really move. I know it's a small thing, but actually when I went to the shop and was talking to the seller about it, he goes, "Oh yeah, you kind of got to use 2 fingers and push down really hard." I was like, well, I don't really want to be doing that. I just want to kind of flick it, so it's a little bit easier. So anyway, I've already had a couple of Sonys before, and I think they're an absolutely awesome unit. So I've gone with this one again, which is the latest version. These are the two cables that I was talking about before. The USB port 2 is for a USB memory / music, and your USB 1 is for a smartphone and USB memory video music. So I've plugged that one into a USB cable, and I will plug this into the phone and see if this works. If I can just put it in the slot there. And there we go. That is the Apple CarPlay that's just been booted up. So this is all my apps. So I've got your Waze, Triple M, Triple J, WhatsApp, Google Maps, Messages, phone, all the good stuff, shows the date. The beauty about Apple CarPlay for me is if I ever want to call somebody, I don't have to, or even if I want to write a message, there's always an option for voice to text, I think it's called. So I could just technically speak to the microphone what I wanted to say, and it can write a message to my friends. But where are we? Back, that one. But as for maps, that's our Google Maps screen. So yeah, anything, there you go, that's the voice button there, that'll activate it all. I've got my Spotify, that's there. So no, it's a great little unit. But there is also another option, WebLink. That is it's called smartphone mirroring. So I haven't really played with it too much. There's an app that I've downloaded on my phone that pretty much turns this whole screen into my phone. So if I ever want to use YouTube, or I'm guessing, I was thinking maybe if I was to download a HEMA Maps or something like that, then technically I could put those on my head unit. But I haven't really played around with it too much, but that's a pretty cool feature that I think might be pretty useful. I've also got the rear camera, but I haven't really installed that yet, but that'll come to another time. Okay, so one thing I was just playing around with was the WebLink app. I managed to connect my phone by plugging it all in and started up the app on the head unit. Got straight to the YouTube app and started to play a video, but as soon as I go to play the video, it just comes up with an error sign saying that you're not allowed to watch whilst driving. So that tells me that the head unit still thinks that I'm driving, and as a safety feature, it's not going to show me the image. It plays the audio, but it won't show the image. So after doing some research, I found that people have been grounding out their park brake cable. So it kind of tricks the head unit into thinking that the car is always parked. Apparently, it's not a good option safety-wise because yada, yada, yada. But yeah, I don't really care. I'm going to see if this works. So what I will be doing is I'll be getting a little bit of wire and connecting it up to this here. And I'm probably just going to ground it to a bolt, probably. Pretty simple. And we'll see if that works. Okay, so this is quickly what I've done with the parking brake. All I've done was I grabbed a female connector. Found some red cable, probably the wrong cable, colored cable, but yeah, as I probably should say, disclaimer, I'm not actually an auto electrician. I just kind of wing it and yeah, get it right most of the time, but yeah, probably if you're going to do it, you probably want to solder it, but usually I just use my connectors. So I used a female connector to some red cable, poked that in there, taped it all up so it's not going to go anywhere, and found it was obviously bigger than that, but just a little flag type connector like that. And as you can see, I've just soldered it in there, and that's going to be my ground onto the steel backing of the head unit. So we'll plug it all back in and see if it works. So I've got it all back together. Now I have the iPhone cable connected up to my cable down there, plugged into the phone with the WebLink app opened up. And if we go to the head unit, that is the main menu for WebLink. We'll click on YouTube. Comes up with a couple of trending. Let's see if it works. There we go. So that, yeah, it's all working. The parking brake obviously has now been tricked. The car thinks it's in park. well, which it is, but if we were driving, technically we could, not that I recommend watching YouTube whilst you're driving your vehicle, but yeah, we've got that all working up now. So not only does it play any YouTube you want, if we get out of that at the moment, oh, back into it, sorry. We can go back to that screen. And we've got music player and waves. I haven't tried any of the other ones yet, but yeah, so we got that to work. So as well as all the other modifications we've done today, I thought I'd give a little exhaust update. When I left on the last video, we had the exhaust dumped around there, just because that next bit was going to go up, just tilt over the diff, and then the second part comes out to the exhaust, just out to the back, just here. I ended up driving with that for roughly 2 weeks, and it was the loudest exhaust in a diesel I've ever had, and it just sounded like a Mack truck anywhere I went. Plus there was a pretty loud drone, and I didn't want to go that loud. So I ended up actually installing the full exhaust just to see what it sounded like. And well, back here sounded awesome. Sounded nice and loud and burly, but when you're in the cab, yeah, not so much. It was pretty quiet. Performance-wise, it felt a lot better. I'm not too sure if because having the full exhaust gave me more back pressure. I've heard some people say that diesels don't really have a lot of back pressure with a full exhaust, so I'm not really too sure if I'm correct or not. But I ended up, yeah, putting it all the way to the back, and and not liking the noise of it. I wanted it really loud. So what I thought maybe having it underneath the passenger seat, it was actually echoing underneath the car. So therefore, having it at the back, pointing it out this way, I wasn't hearing it because it wasn't echoing. So what I ended up doing was, I'll show you. That is what I ended up doing. So from factory, or sorry, not from factory, from out of the factory that this exhaust came from, PPD, it actually came through here, comes out, and then kind of tilts up. There you go, there's another mount, and then tilts out to that way. So what I thought was I might try and get it so it's between the fuel tank and the panhard bar. So I had to cut up here and a few multiple positions just to get that nice little angle. I didn't end up welding it because I'm not a very good welder, so I had a mate weld it up for me. Didn't do too bad a job. It's still here, so you know, I haven't taken a forward driving button. That's the issue, because I have a feeling that when the rear end starts to flex and droop, that the panhard bar might hit the exhaust. Not really too worried, but because if I end up lifting the car, then potentially I have a feeling that this will go up with the car, whereas this will stay on the ground. So I haven't gone out full driving yet, but yeah, hopefully it should be in the clear. As for legalities wise, I did look up in New South Wales that they wanted the exhaust back past the rear door. My tip technically is here, so it's technically legal lengthwise, but the fact that it doesn't have a cat and a muffler, they're still gonna give me a hard time anyway. So, but I'm not really too worried. There is a noticeable difference in noise, and I'll turn it on now. that's it for another episode. Today I managed to get a massive amount done, from finishing off the head unit and getting it completely all sorted and all the features working, to getting the UHF installed, even though the aerial was already in. Wasn't too bad of a job, but I reckon that looks absolutely awesome. And finishing off the exhaust, which was a massive part because, yeah, it was, like I said, it was really loud. As for next modifications, I'm kind of waiting for the New Year's, to be honest. My next purchase is probably going to be a pretty large one, whether it be, because I was looking at which way to go about it, you know, because I want to get, you know, steel work, the bar work, I want to get tires, I want to get a lift. To figure out the right process in doing it, I think I'm going to go with bar work just to get the weight on the car, and then the next purchase will be the suspension, because if I don't have a lot of weight on the car, and when I do go to Superior, and if they ask me, you know, in regards to coil rates and how much weight the car is going to have on it, I think it's probably best to load it up with all the bar work. So that's probably going to be the next purchase, but obviously being Christmas time, a lot of the shops are closed, so I will be waiting till the new year to really start ripping into it and getting some pretty serious mods done. But yeah, looking really good. Thanks for watching.